Hello everyone and welcome to Spare a Thought, the podcast for curious minds exploring creativity, culture and stories from the margins. I'm your host, Tom Spare. This week I don't have an episode in full view. I'm taking a bit of a break this week, but I wanted to have a bit of a catch up of previous episodes that I've put out into the world. Last week I put out an episode about Kara Ando, Japanese architect, self-taught architect. Had a great story from training to be a boxer to then becoming an architect and having a really big impact on modern architecture across Japan. I made this episode with my friend B, and here's a short clip of that episode.
So he left school, and like many young men of his generation with energy and ambition but limited options, he turned to boxing. He became a professional 4-round boxer.
In a Vanity Fair interview last year, he was asked how boxing shaped his approach to architecture, and this is what he said. A boxer stepping into the ring with gloves, an architect sketching with a pencil. At first glance, they seem like completely different professions, completely different ways of life, but to me, they are the same in one crucial way. Both are battles where you must overcome your own fears and move forward with courage.
And Ando continues, boxing is an intensely solitary and disciplined sport. You push your body to its limits through relentless training and weight cuts, only to throw everything into a fleeting moment in the ring. There is nothing to rely on but your own body. Yet in those extreme conditions, there's a new strength that is awakened. Architecture is no different. When the constraints are tight, when the program and budget leave little room for freedom, that's when you are forced to ask yourself, what is truly essential? What must I create? And at the end of that struggle, light emerges. For example, in 1989, I built the Church of the Light in Osaka on an ultra-low budget. That building was born precisely because of such extreme conditions.
So that was Spare a Thought for Kara Ando. The week before that, I put out an episode about The Waters That Raised Us. This is an anthology of essays edited by Taylor Edmonds, who has brought together 9 writers and then also herself as the 10th to write about the relationship between water and whales. And that's different forms of water, you know, the relationship with the sea, with rivers, with reservoirs, and lots of other sort of things in between. Here's a clip from Taylor reading from her essay.
This is a short extract from my essay Watermarks, and it begins in the old harbour in Barry. My nephews, 4 and 2 years old, are running towards the sea. As soon as they saw it, they abandoned their bikes in the sand to take off on this new quest. I run with them, our bare feet slapping on the wet sand. It's spring. The air still has a cool bite, and there's nobody but us brave enough to meet the water. I hesitate at the edge of the foam, anticipating the cold, while they run straight in, yelping in delight as the water soaks their shorts. I grab their hands, fearful that they will get caught up in one of the waves. They splash me until the water doesn't sting anymore. I watch their awe as we look out to the Severn estuary, where somewhere on the other side, Minehead or Weston-super-Mare, sheets of misty rain fall, making it seem as if nothing is ahead of us. They are fascinated and scared by the tiny translucent crabs we spot washed up onto the sand. My oldest nephew tells me the sea is magic. I'm glad that they get to grow up alongside the water like me. Wherever I've gone in my life, I've sought the sea. There's a sense of unease in my stomach, claustrophobia in my chest when I am not in easy reach of the water. At the beach with my nephews, for a second, I pretend we are at the end of the earth.
And also a little while ago, put together an episode to do with tuition fees and debt, basically tuition loans. This episode featured voices of a generation of young folks who have basically accrued a lot of debt over their careers so far, even if they haven't left university that long ago. We hear from Rethink Repayment, who are running this campaign to reform the way in which student debt operates. Here's a clip explaining a little bit about that. I've been a witness to the tuition fee rises, shared classrooms with the first cohort, 2012, worked in the sector for 10 years, and then experienced university as a mature postgraduate student, witnessing an education model now under serious strain. Now, let's hear from the Plan 2 graduates who ended up with far more debt than me. You'll hear from my friends Josh, Tom, Emily, Alex, Bree, and B, who all went to university after the 1st of September 2012. First, here's Josh, who was part of that 2012 cohort.
Okay, hi, I'm Josh. I studied at Swansea University. I studied philosophy, politics, and law. And I studied between the years 2012 and 2015. So, looking at my starting debt, I can see £24,686.57. But going on my current outstanding debt as of the 9th of April, we're talking £27,569.89. I kind of wish you didn't ask me to do this exercise now. I've maybe been a bit ignorant to this before and not actually properly paid much attention, but it's actually quite wild if you think about how much more debt I've accumulated through interest. Yeah, that's quite concerning.
My name's Tom, and I went to the University of Leeds to study an integrated Masters in Mechanical Engineering in September of 2012. My loan amount was about £50,000. Before I'd even finished the course, it had accrued £7,000 worth of interest. I'm currently up to about £73,000 worth of debt. And last year, my interest payments my interest was at £5,000, whereas my payments were only £2,000. Which means that even on a salary of about 50,000, it's never going to get paid off.
My name is Emily, and I studied at the University of Bristol from 2020 until 2024. I studied a joint honours degree in history and Spanish, which means I did a year abroad year, so I paid reduced tuition fees for 1 year out of the 4. After finishing my degree, the total loan borrowed was £58,171, and now I owe £68,672.46. So I've accrued £10,537.46 in interest.
So I'm Alex Miles. I did a degree in history at the University of Exeter, and then I went on to do a master's at Cardiff University in journalism. The total of what I owe is £57,348.30. So, you know, what I've been paying back since pretty much being in solid full-time work since leaving university clearly hasn't touched the sides with all the interest that's been added. So, you know, effectively I see what comes out of my salary every month, which is actually just the post-grad repayment at the moment, effectively as a graduate tax.
Hi, my name is Brianna, and I studied philosophy at UWE Bristol from 2022 to 2025. I borrowed a total of £40,324, and currently I owe £46,392.21, 8 months after graduating.
And last but not least, let's hear from B. I used to work with B. We recorded a part of a catch-up so she could log into her student finance to see how much she owed.
Okay, so it says my total is 42,571.39.
That's a lot.
So much money.
Does it say how much you've contributed in PAYE and then also how much interest has been added?
As of 1st of April. So salary repayments.
Yeah.
Repayments you've made through I've currently done £914 and the interest added is 1,453.
So you're always like £400 behind basically, because it's always adding £400,
which is really horrible. Yeah, that probably isn't as bad as like now what my friend has said. But that's also because I think he's 20k more because he did 2 years more and then got
Yeah,
maintenance.
cool. That's,
I don't think I'm going to pay that back, am I?
I don't think you are. Sorry. This is going to be compounded.
I mean that I'll always be behind then.
Yeah, because you're never catching up with, unless you would have to earn over £66,000 a year in order to get ahead of your repayments.
And when will I stop paying? Like, when will it just, will it end for me?
Yeah, after 30 years, I think.
Yeah, because my cousin, she's younger and starting salary is lower. I think it's 20,
correct.
Either 21 or 23. 42 is a lot.
You can listen back to all of those episodes wherever you get this podcast from. Also, I've linked in the show notes to those 3 episodes, which I've just shared with you. And finally, I wanted to highlight our sister show, The Political Dispatch, which I make with Sid Kurapati and Lily Mott, which is looking at sort of politics through a sort of historiographical lens, seeing what's going on now and explaining it in context. The latest episode is about the Senedd elections in Wales, the Scottish parliamentary elections, and the local elections, which have just taken place. That was an episode that Sid and I put together. And here's a brief clip of that.
I've lost my seat here in Ceredigion Pembroke, and I will be stepping down as leader of Welsh Labour.
But this campaign could only build on the work that has been done over a century of believing in our nation's future.
But it is becoming clear that the Scottish National Party is going to emerge as the largest party in this election campaign.
And two-party politics is not just dying, it is dead and it is buried.
And we saw it beginning last night. You see Labour down 35%, Reform up 39%.
I'm not going to walk away from this. That would plunge the country into chaos. But that doesn't mean we don't need to respond. It doesn't mean we don't need to rebuild.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Political Dispatch, the podcast where we explore the world's headlines and trace their roots through the past to make sense of the present. I'm Tom Spare.
And I'm Sid Kurapati. Today, we're without Lily, so it's just Tom and I, and we'll do our best to keep the show on the road.
This episode is focused on key results and analysis of the Senedd elections in Wales, the Scottish parliamentary elections, and the local elections in England.
Absolutely, Tom. It's a bit of a whistle-stop tour this time, and the results are still coming in, but we've got a good overview of where we're at.
So let's start with Wales, my adopted country, where Sid, Lily and I met at Cardiff University during our masters.
We made a previous episode on Wales and how this was a change election, and the results have certainly lived up to their name. We knew that up to 2/3 of the membership elected was going to be new. There were new constituencies and an entirely new voting system.
And the Senedd elections have taken place 7 times in Wales since 1999. The results on Friday ensure that their 27-year run in power is well and truly over.
Absolutely, Tom. Just as a reminder, the Senedd elections take place to determine who governs in Wales. The Welsh Senedd has devolved powers over health, the economy. When I say the economy, it's the Welsh economy, education, housing, transport, the Welsh language, and some of the taxes.
Eluned Morgan became the first sitting First Minister in history to lose their seat while in office. Plaid Cymru, after 100 years as a party, have topped the polls for the first time, becoming the biggest party in Wales with 43 seats. Reform came second with 34 seats. Before the election, they had just one member of the Senedd. Their leader, Dan Thomas, was the first person to be announced as a winner, winning at a seat in Casnewid Islin, which is sort of covers Newport. Welsh Labour came a distant third. Their party have been decimated after dominating the political scene for over 100 years in the country. The party managing to secure just 9 seats in total, which is down from, I think, there were about 30 at the last election. The Green Party won 2 seats, a big moment for them, although the results don't necessarily reflect the wider enthusiasm for the party and the momentum that they've built up over the course of the last few months. The Conservatives won 7 seats, a long way from their second place position in 2021 election, and the Liberal Democrats won a solitary seat for their leader, Jane Dodds.
Yeah, that's a good nutshell of the results there, Tom. The big winners by far are Plaid Cymru, who will be looking to form a minority government for the first time in their history. Queen Ap Eweth is likely to become the next First Minister of Wales. Of course, the Reform are exactly where they want to be, which is second place, second biggest party. They can be in the opposition, they can use this as a platform or to build towards next year's Welsh local elections, and will be positioning themselves for further gains come the 2029 general elections.
And next week, I'll be interviewing Taylor Edmonds to talk about the sessions that she runs as a writing facilitator and her relationship with both poetry, with essay writing, and also in creating her first play, Demand the Impossible. Until then, thanks for listening. Title music for this show is Young Shall Grow by Afro Cluster, Magugu, and Asha Jane. Spur of Thought is a Be the Change Media Network production. Thanks for listening.
Whether you like them or not, young shall grow. Better fill them with love. Them to know. In this life you don't